In the modern day, the elements of the periodic table, numbering 118, have minimal direct influence on aspects of life that do not regard pure science. In contrast, the classical elements represent an alternate science, a science intertwined with religion and culture. These situational elements serve as the spokes, pistons, and gears that drive the machine that is society. In essence, these elements ratify not only the scientific belief of a time period, but also the reasoning for religion and traditions. Although they serve similar purposes, among the foregoing classification of elements, there are distinct sets that vary across the globe. For instance, the establishment of the classical elements in ancient Asia differs from that of the ancient Europe, as do their respective terrains, climates, and cultures. Despite this divergence, each set of elements and its respective segments synchronize to shape the direction of society. The wheel. A gyrating circuit is supported by spokes which vary in length and tension in order to support weight. Likewise, the Asian classical elements are indeed the spokes that support the cyclical structure seen throughout Asian religion and culture. For example, the 5 Chinese elements, wood, fire, earth, metal, and water, consist of 2 cycles with 5 steps. The generation cycle. Metal collects water, water nourishes wood, wood feeds fire, fire produces ash or earth bears metal, and the destruction cycle. Metal chops wood, wood parts earth, earth absorbs water, water quenches fire, and fire melts metal. Each cycle eventually returns to the first step and supports, through its repetitive nature, the recurring cycle of Buddhism, a religion revolving around life, death, and eventually rebirth or reincarnation. Similarly, the Japanese elements of earth, water, fire, wind, and spirit originate from Buddhist beliefs, and each element is considered a different stage of an indestructible substance. These stage cycles, Chinese elements and Japanese elements, contain a numerical value with great significance in European society, ancient and modern, that serves as the cultural bridge between Europe and Asia. Aristotle's 5 elements, the 5 points on the pentangle, and Christ's 5 mortal wounds are all examples of the number 5's keystone nature in European culture. Arguably, all these beliefs stem originally from Aristotle's conception of matter, that all objects were comprised of 5 basic elements: earth, water, air, fire, and ether. Aristotle's ideas about matter and the world are reflected through the solid earth, the liquid water, the gaseous air, warm but destructive fire, and the divine ether. In contrast to the ancient interpretation of the elements, Aristotle believed they all had a place in the universe, whereas Asian philosophers believed that in the existence of Qi, the common building block of all matter. Aristotle thought of the elements as fundamentally unique from one another, and claimed that each of the elements had a natural place or state of rest. All that is earthly tends towards the center of the universe. Water tends towards a sphere surrounding the center. Air tends towards a sphere surrounding the water sphere. And fire tends towards the lunar sphere, in which the moon orbits. When the elements are moved out of their natural place, they naturally move back towards it, as proposed by Aristotle. This is natural motion, motion requiring no extrinsic cause. For example, in water, earthy bodies sink while air bubbles rise up. In air, rain falls as flames rise. Isolated from all the other spheres, the heavenly, 5th element is manifested in the stars and planets and flows in a circular motion. Through his situational, scientific axioms, Aristotle would influence the course of history for thousands of years and establish the number 5 in many mediums of European culture. Ironically, Aristotle's progress set back contemporary and modern chemistry for over 1,000 years. It was not until the 1800s that chemistry supplanted alchemy and truly progressed modern science. Despite the progression of the elements with time and our modernized contemporary view of them, each traditional set still has a natural place in society. Instead of supporting the axioms of society's uncodified conventions, they have now become a part of the axiom itself. To society, these elements were the driving force that brought it to the point it is now, but the question that must be answered is whether the axioms of society arrived first and were then justified, or whether they were created as a result of the logical progression and reasoning resulted in the creation of the classical elements.